Happy Thursday! We are working on systems of equations word problems today. So I have a list of some word problems and we are going to go out of order because we're wacky and it's quarantine and that's just how it's going. So we're going to look at number 3 first. So you've gone to a self-service fruit stand, yay social distancing. The person in front of you gets 5 apples and 4 oranges for $10. You got 5 apples and 5 oranges for $11. How much does 1 apple cost? And how much does 1 orange cost? So, what we know for sure, well, our first step for word problems is we should set our variables. So, what I did was I put A is the cost of the apples. Now, putting an O for oranges would make sense, but my O's I will so get confused with zeros. So I put R as the cost of oranges because R is the next letter in oranges. So now we look at the information that we know and we're going to turn it into an equation. So the person in front of you got 5 apples and 4 oranges for $10. So you can write that as 5A plus 4R is equal to 10. And you can look at, and you got 5 apples and 5 oranges for $11. So you can write that as 5A plus 5R is equal to $11. So I decided to use elimination for this one, especially since our apples are the same. Makes it really easy. So I'm going to multiply this first equation by -1. So that way we end up with negative 5A minus 4R is equal to -10. I'll just copy that second equation. 5A plus 5R is equal to 11. And we'll add those up. Negative 5A plus 5A cancels out. 5R plus negative 4R leaves us with just an R. And negative 10 plus 11 leaves us with 1. So now I'm just going to plug this back in. I'm going to use this second equation here. So we have 5A plus 5, because 5 times 1 is 5, is equal to 11. Subtract 5 on both sides. And 11 minus 5 is 6. Divide by 5 on both sides. And I believe, I'm going to double check my calculator really quick. I did this problem earlier. Yep. And our A is equal to 1.2. So now what does this mean? So 1 apple costs $1.20. And 1 orange costs $1. So now we're going to move on to number 4. Mrs. Baumberger has a desk full of quarters and nickels. If she has a total of 24 coins with a total value of $4.40, how many quarters and nickels does she have? So, what do we know here? We know, let's set our variables. So, these ones are nice and easy. Q's and N's aren't all that hard to confuse with numbers or different operations. So I'm going to put Q as the number of quarters. And I'm going to put N as the number of nickels. So she has a total of 24 coins. So that means however many quarters she has, plus however many nickels she has, is going to equal 24. Now this is where it gets tricky. The problem doesn't tell us how much a quarter and a nickel are worth, but that's something that you kind of know, especially as someone who's in middle school, but you have to draw on that prior information. So quarters are equal to 0.25 of a dollar plus 0.05, because nickels are worth 5 cents of a nickel, or of a dollar, is equal to the total value of $4.40. Now, for this one, I definitely would use substitution because I don't want to deal with those decimals any more than I already have to. So what I did was I changed this equation by moving the n over, and I changed it to Q is equal to 24 minus n. So then I just plugged it in to this equation down here. So I got 0.25 times 24 minus n, and then add on this plus 0.05, n is equal to 4.4. So then I'm going to distribute this 0.25 out. And you end up with 6 minus 0.25n plus 0.05n is equal to 4.40. And then you're going to combine your like terms. And you get 6 minus 0.2n is equal to 4.4. I subtracted 6 on both sides, and I was left with negative 0.2n is equal to negative 1.6. I divided by negative 0.2 on both sides. And we get n is equal to 8. Sorry about that camera work. Still getting used to filming on my phone. But we're left with n is equal to 8. So then I went up and I plugged that back into our equation here. Q is equal to 24 minus 8. So that's Q is equal to 16. So that means that Mrs. Bomberger has 8 nickels and 16 quarters. Sorry, my phone is dying. All right. So we are going to do one more word problem practice, and we are all the way back to number 2. So Cadence and Julia are comparing the number of keys on their keychains. If Julia has 4 more keys on her keychain than Cadence does on hers, and the two of them have 18 keys combined, how many keys does each of them have? Sorry about the messy handwriting. I changed the way I wanted to go with this question at the end. All right, so I'm going to keep it simple. J is going to equal the number of keys that Julia has. I'm going to have K is equal to the number of keys Cadence has. So, things we know. We know that Julia has 4 more keys on her keychain than Cadence has. So a way that we can think of this, and this is a little complicated, it can be a little tricky to think about, but if you give Cadence 4 more keys, then she'll have the same amount of keys that Julia has. That's the way I thought about it for that question. And then we know that the two of them together have 18 keys. So however many keys that Julia has, plus however many keys that Cadence has, we know that that's equal to 18. Now this question is very easy for substitution because J is already isolated. So I'm just going to take that and plug that in over here. So we're left with K plus 4, bring down that K, so plus another K, is equal to 18. So I'm going to combine like terms, and I get 2K plus 4 is equal to 18. Subtract 4 on both sides, and I'm left with 2K is equal to 14. Divide by 2 on both sides, and we're left with K is equal to 7. So I'm going to plug that into this top equation up here. So then we get 7 plus 4 is equal to J. So we get J is equal to 11. So now what we know is that Julia has 11 keys and Cadence has 7 keys. Talk with you guys next week.